Hello, everyone, and welcome to this book discussion of Charles Eisenstein's fantastic new book, The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible. There's a good look at it. I'm Jeremy Stuart, and my co-host here is Scott Noelle. Hi, Scott.
Hello, Jeremy. I'm excited to be on this video with you.
So
I'm
before we
not
jump,
sure if excited is the right word.
yeah, I am.
I-
So before we jump in, though, let's maybe just do a little intro on who we are. I'm Jeremy Stewart. I'm a filmmaker and editor, and I recently directed and produced the documentary Class Dismissed, which is about homeschooling, unschooling, and other alternative ways of learning outside of a traditional classroom model. I've also been a professional musician and a massage therapist and too many other things to name right here. But
Some of them might be illegal.
some of them may be illegal, and we won't go there. But so I currently live in the San Francisco Bay Area with my wife and our daughter of 10 years old who is unschooled. And I'm particularly excited about this book and this discussion that we're going to get into. I've always been very interested in philosophy and Eastern meditation practices. I studied Zen Buddhism for many years and lived at a couple of Zen centers, and so that sort of self-inquiry and that sort of methodology of diving deep into who we are as humans and our role in the world has always been very interesting to me. I only recently heard of Charles Eisenstein because I'm very fortunate to have been invited to attend the Rethinking Everything conference this year coming up, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And Charles Eisenstein is going to be there, so I'm super excited about finally getting to meet him. And I've been reading his latest book. Here it is again. And I'm really enthralled with many of the ideas in there. His writing is really quite remarkable, and the book seems to really speak to me very directly right now and address some of the things that I'm facing personally. So super excited to get into this with you, Scott. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yes, I will. My name is Scott Noelle. I am the author of The Daily Groove, which is a blog you can visit at dailygroove.com. And the focus of the blog is what I call better living through partnership, authenticity, trust, and heart. So it's a way to shift your consciousness, and it's particularly geared toward families and parents who are making a transition from kind of an old way of being in relationship that's focused on controlling to a more of a new paradigm of working together, working with each other in partnership. So that's the focus of my work. I'm also a life coach, and I primarily work with parents who are on that path. I am also going to the Rethinking Everything conference. And in fact, it was my suggestion to invite Charles because his work has just blown me away. And the reason why I wanted to do this book discussion and invite people across the internet, and especially people that are also going to the Rethinking Everything conference in September, the reason I wanted to do that is because his work is it's one of those books where when you read it, you just have these epiphanies, one after another, and I keep finding myself saying, yes, 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 this is exactly what I was feeling. And he put it into words so eloquently. And so, for those who may not have time, especially busy parents, may not have time to read a book before September, especially those who are going to be gathering with us in Arkansas for the Rethinking Everything conference. So my hope is that we can all get together through these videos and kind of have some interaction with each other and also with the people that are following the series. What we're going to do is cover a few chapters with each video, and then we're also going to be receiving comments and questions from those who are following the series. So, for example, if you have read the chapter that we're discussing in a particular video, then you can send us your comments and your thoughts or maybe questions about that some ideas in that chapter, and then we're going to discuss that and bring it into the video, bring your energy into the video. So it should be fun. You should be able to find a link, presumably down there. If not, maybe you received an email with a link to this video, and it should have instructions on how to interact with us. I think we're going to receive comments by email, through YouTube, and possibly through Facebook, or even the Rethinking Everything website as well. So we want to really encourage interaction, those of you who are following and engaging in this exploration along with us.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I totally agree, Scott. You know, in reading this book, there's so much in there that, as I said earlier, that just really speaks to me very directly. And I love finding books like that, where you read the line and you go, that's exactly what I was thinking, or exactly what I was feeling, and how amazing that that's been written down. And Charles's writing is so eloquent, and he's so succinct at kind of taking these very complex thought processes and issues and boiling them down to really simple, easy to digest language. And what I love about the book too is that the chapters it's broken down into, I think it's 36 chapters.
Yep.
And they're all fairly small. So I mean, as you mentioned, a lot of parents with kids often don't have a lot of time to read. And I know I certainly don't have as much time to read as I would like. And what's great about this book is that the chapters are small enough that, you know, I can read 1 or 2 chapters very easily without taking up too much time in my day. Or it's easy to find the time in my day to read those chapters. And even within a couple of chapters, there's so much there to really digest that, you know, I'll spend days like thinking about that before moving on. So it's a really terrific book. There's just so much in there to explore.
Right.
And, you know, I'm hoping that you and I can also kind of dig out even more in there that we may have individually missed in our readings of the book. So
right. So I've done some calculation, and in fact, if we cover an average of 1 chapter a day between now and September, then there will be plenty of time to cover all the chapters. So we're not going to do a video for each chapter because that's a lot of videos,
yeah.
but we will cover them all, an average of 1 a day. So if we did 1 a week, that would be like 7 chapters that we would cover. But as far as those of you who are following along, you don't have to actually read more than a chapter a day to stay up to speed with it.
Right. So what should we talk a little bit about the sort of overview of the book? I mean, it seems to me that there's several themes that keep reoccurring in the book, and you know, one of them is this idea of separation that we seem to be inherently living in. The idea that we're separate from the world, and that somehow we're not fully engaged with the world because of, and this is the other theme that comes up a lot, because of the story that we've sort of grown up in.
Exactly.
You know, the story of the world that we've been taught, that we've been taught in schools, that we've been conditioned with, is with us so deeply that we're always operating out of this sense of kind of separateness, like the world is over here and I'm here, and so we're not fully engaged. And yet, I think it's safe to say that most of us, especially in this day and age, feel a certain longing. I know I do. I feel a certain kind of longing to want to reconnect in a deeper way to people around me, to the environment around me, to my work, to my life, to my relationships. And yet, sometimes things get in the way and kind of hold me back from that engagement.
Right.
And I'm not sure what that is. And what Charles seems to be alluding to in the book is that it's this story that we've taken upon ourselves, and it's become so ingrained in our conditioning that we can't break out of that.
Right. So in a way that, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
Well, I was going to say that in a way, then Charles is by framing it as a story, we can start to observe all of our day-to-day experiences through the lens of now being conscious that it is a story, and that and you start to question things, which is great, and why he's so perfect for a conference devoted to rethinking everything.
Right.
Because when we look through the lens of the stories that we've been conditioned to see life through, then suddenly everything looks a little different, and it becomes easy to question and to catch yourself interpreting life through this lens. And then, of course, the great thing he does, especially in the later chapters, is talk about a new story. This idea that we can take the old story and let it go and replace it with a new story. I think he calls it the story of reunion, this idea that we're all connected, and that when we look through that lens, everything looks different. And,
Right.
and you start to feel less isolated, less alienated, and it becomes easier to connect with people. So
Right.
I think uh, that's the gift that he gives us through this book, is kind of a map to traverse this journey from the old story to the new story.
Right. And it is sort of a process of kind of unraveling in a way. It's like you have to. It's interesting that the book is set up in these short little chapters, because it seems to me that that very much mirrors the process that has to happen as we kind of unravel the old story. It's like you can't do it all at once; you'd go insane, you know. So it's like you just have to take one little aspect of your life and unravel it a little bit, or look at it slightly differently, before you can then move on to the next little piece. And then over time, of course, that builds up, and then hopefully you're able to sort of dismantle the majority of the old story and step into a new one. And it's an interesting thing. He sort of parallels in the book that it's not just about letting go of the old story; it's also about defining and creating a new one at the same time. But that often creates a space in the middle of kind of not knowingness, which is often really uncomfortable. When you don't really know what to do next.
Right.
There's an awareness that things are unraveling, and that you're maybe looking at some aspect of your life and thinking, okay, I no longer want to kind of buy into this in this way, but
Yeah.
what do I do instead?
Yeah.
And that's a really difficult place to be for a lot of
Right.
people, because it makes them very uncomfortable. And
That's really where so many of my clients are when they come to me for parenting support. They say, I know I don't want to do things the way my parents did,
right,
or the way that society is offering me, but I'm not sure what to replace it with.
right,
So yeah, I think there are aspects of life where we're already in that in between space. And this is sort of taking a step back and seeing how it's not just a particular subject like our parenting, or like how we feel about education, or other factors that are important to parents, but really everything, how we relate to life itself.
right. And then one of the things that speaks to me about the book too. I mean, a lot of his ideas seem to draw or share relationship to some of the Buddhist ideals of separation and self and no self and so on. I studied Zen Buddhism for a number of years with a Japanese Zen master, and one of his favorite sayings, which took me years to understand what he was talking about, he used to say, "Not knowing is most intimate." And I didn't know what the heck he meant for the longest time. And gradually over time, I've begun to realize what he was really talking about. And Charles is kind of talking about that too. And that's that place of not knowing, where we're sort of breaking down one aspect and trying to rebuild a new one, but we don't have it yet. And we're in that kind of limbo stage.
Yeah.
That's an incredibly important time, because that's when we're most engaged. There's one way of looking at it is like there's this sort of opportunity there. That's the whole, that moment is so pregnant with opportunity. We don't quite know what that opportunity looks like yet. But the point is that if we're really willing to be uncomfortable and be willing to sit in that space of not knowing, then amazing things happen.
Right.
And we're really, really engaged. But it's a very hard place to be. And I think that's what my old teacher meant by that. And I feel that, Charles is kind of talking about that too in this book.
Right. And also, I think what he's alluding to is that in that space of not knowing, there's also a deeper knowing that is revealed, that is a part of our humanity. And I think because we've been conditioned apart from our humanity, or to think of ourselves in ways that aren't really our deeper truth, this sort of false knowing replaces a deeper true knowing. And so that when you move into that space of not knowing, really you're moving into a space of knowing. It's a kind of a paradox.
Yeah, and I like that. In fact, I was just thinking there's another book by a Korean Zen master, and the title of the book is Only Don't Know, which I think is fantastic, because really and truly that's all there is. We really don't know. We think we know, and we go about our lives pretending that we know, but when you boil it all down at the end of the day, it's like we really don't know. Yeah, and so only don't know is a terrific place to operate from, but obviously very, very difficult. So, and that's what I love so much about this book, is that he keeps alluding to that space of like, it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay not to know. It's okay not to act. There's a time to act and there's a time not to act. Yeah. And being okay with that sort of constantly shifting ground is not only okay, it's essential for creating a new paradigm, a new world story.
There's something else excuse me, there's something else I really love about Charles's writing style, which is that he never leaves anything in a place of definite one way or another, or a kind of this is the right and therefore everything else is wrong. He's always bringing us back to this space of I guess I call it Rumi's field, beyond right and wrong, and so he'll speak to some truth that resonates, but then he'll go even a little further and sort of catch us trying to make it into a righteous position, and and show how the opposite position is actually a part of the same truth. And so I find it a really a kind of it takes me to another place compared to other books, which kind of leave me feeling like, yeah, this is right and everything else is wrong. And he'll say things like, he'll critique the things like capitalism and income inequality and things like that. But then take it further and say, but guess what? The people that are the winners of this game are just as unhappy and alienated as the rest of us. So right. the response is not to make them wrong, but to embrace them as we, embrace this new story. So that's just one example of the many ways that he does that, taking it deeper so that we don't just leave it with some sort of opinionated stance.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like having like a diamond, and then looking at all the different facets. They may look very different from each other, but they're all part of the whole thing. Or two sides of the same coin. It's the same coin, but you're on this side or you're on this side, and they're both relevant. Right. One's not better than the other. So.
And speaking of coins, his previous book prior to this one was called Sacred Economics. And it's really fascinating how the themes intertwine between rethinking economics and rethinking all of life and our relationship to it. Because our current dysfunctional economic system really arises from this dysfunctional story. And one of the videos I want to link to, maybe it's down there, is a short documentary. I think you've seen it as well, by Ian McKenzie, that kind of summarizes the ideas in a very beautiful way, the ideas of sacred economics. And it's also in a way a preview to this book, because I think, I'm not sure what his creative process was, but I'm sure that he felt like after Sacred Economics, this was the next logical step to take it and apply some of those ideas in a broader way to all of humanity and life on Earth.
Yeah, I actually have Sacred Economics too and haven't read it yet. That's next on my list.
Well, that 12-minute video does cover the essentials very well.
Yeah, yeah,
And in a way, I think that's what we're trying to do for for those who may not get to every chapter of this book, but we can summarize the big ideas and make it accessible so that for those who decide to go to Rethinking Everything on September 4th, 2015 in Little Rock, Arkansas, um, they will, um, you know, enter into that first day where we're going to spend the whole day or a large chunk of the day with Charles doing process work to really dig deep into this story, into this change of the stories from the old story of separation to the new story of reunion. So I'm excited, and this one of the main reasons why I wanted us to create this series is so that we can really hit the ground running when we arrive in Little Rock for this experience with Charles.
yeah. That's great. I'm super excited about that too. Looking forward to it.
Right.
Good. So
So for our next video, which will be published in a few days, we have we'll do probably chapter 1 through 3 or 4.
yeah, I was thinking maybe the first four. So it's separation, breakdown, interbeing, and cynicism. So we touched a little bit on that, the idea of separation and breakdown and the interbeing. We sort of spoke a little bit about that today.
Right,
And so we can kind of get in more depth with those and then add the fourth chapter in there, which is cynicism. But yeah, I'm excited to.
And I want to add one thing, which is if you go to charleseisenstein.net, and his last name it's like Einstein with an E-N mixed in with it, EISENSTEIN. Thank you. charleseisenstein.net is his website, and when you go there, you can order the book if you want a print copy. You can also read it online, and one of his sacred economic principles is this idea of the gift. And so he gives his work as a gift to the world, and then you can gift him back by purchasing his book. I've read it online, so I'm just going to give him the cost of a book when I meet him in Arkansas, because I love to see. I just really want to continue to support his work. I think it's really going to make a big difference in the world. So, but I wanted to mention that you can get it online if you go to charleseisenstein.net and then click on books, and then click on The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Know Is Possible, and then scroll down that page. You will see the links to all the chapters. So you can start reading it right away, even if you're ordering the book and waiting for it to arrive.
Great. All right, Scott. So I guess until next time, huh?
Yes, this was fun. I'm excited to continue this journey, and also to see who shows up with us on it. And encourage you to follow those links below or near the video, and send us your thoughts. Share a comment, send an email, post something somewhere so that we'll find it, and we'll include you in the conversation.
Great. Thanks, Scott.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.